Alright guys, so I haven't really presented on my topic yet, so I want to introduce you to it. So I'm focusing on child-centered schooling, in particular, different learning types, which is why my question I'm trying to answer with my research project is, how can we appeal to the different learning types in the classroom, and what is the most feasible way to do this? So I'm going to give you a rundown of my research kind of outline and what I addressed in my paper. So the first thing is kind of the history of child-centered schooling, because it is in fact not something that's new. I then address the current problem with the fact that they aren't addressing it. They're not focusing on child-centered schooling anymore. And I then kind of tried to, I actually identified 3 different possibilities to improve on this, being teacher training, separate classrooms, and technology, and narrow it down to which one we should go with. So, first thing is a little history. So Howard Gardner and his theory of multiple intelligences. So he, in 1983, introduced this theory, and it essentially said that there's not just one intelligence, but many. So this essentially negated the IQ test, which just tests 1, and Howard Gardner actually believes that there are 9 different intelligences based on the senses. In current education system, there's really 3 main different learning types that are considered kind of the general ones, and those are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Kinesthetic meaning using your hands and your body to learn. So our current problem. Kinesthetic learners are not being appealed to in the K through 12 system. Yet, they make up 15% of the current students in the K through 12 system. And this is a stat from Carleton College. So instead of learning to the best of their ability, they spend their time molding their minds to learn like visual and auditory learners, and this takes away from their learning experience. Yet still, some students manage to do well even if they are kinesthetic learners. So this kind of brought me to another question is, what if these students that did well in school, regardless, were actually taught to their kinesthetic learning? Like, what could they have done in that case? So that's another thing I'm focusing on. So one possibility, improved teacher training. John Dewey was a 19th century philosopher, education reformist, that kind of started the child-centered schooling movement. He believed that teachers should essentially study their students for the first few weeks of school and then appeal to their learning types based on this. The problem in current society is that there were far less students in that time, and so this is kind of a problem. You can't study that many students now. I also conducted an interview with Ja Liu, who's the director of Breakthrough Silicon Valley, which is where I worked this summer. It's a summer program for underprivileged, motivated students, and they have college teachers. So they really focus on appealing to the 3 different learning types, and which was what we did in the classroom. We saw a lot of great results with it. Once again, the problem is that their classrooms are capped at 10 kids, which is just something not seen in current public and private schools. So teacher training, maybe not the best option. Separate classrooms. This is a completely different option, completely different end of the spectrum. It would basically entail that students would be separated into different classrooms based on which learning type they identify with. The problem with this is that students often identify with more than one. They often strongly identify with one, but then also learn in a different way as well. So this is kind of also maybe not the best option. Which brought me to technology. So technology is something that is on the cusp of becoming a major player in the education system. And so if we were to kind of piggyback on this technology movement with programs that offer students the ability to learn with these programs, it would be a way for them to choose how they learn and then basically have their learning tailored to them. So therefore, my conclusion is that technology is probably the best option to implement this differential learning system into the classroom.
Thank you, Laura.